भारतवर्ष स्वाधीनता लाभ कला 1947 मसीह प्राय आम जो देखा ताहले 78 वर्ष आज है से स्वाधीनता समय रे आमर लोक संख्या थिले 33 कोटी आ 33 कोटी लोकं को सेते बेले आमे वर्ष तमाम खाद्य देवाई आम सरकार असमर्थ थिले। आमे 33 कोटी लोकं को खाद्य ठीक भाव में पहुँचेबा चाष अमल करी आम पाखे संभव नथिला किंतु देखंतु समय एवं कालक्रमे आज कृषिर उन्नति है। आमर जड़े पूर्वतन प्रधानमंत्री लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जय जवान जय किसान ये नारा देले एवं धीरे धीरे कृषिर उन्नति है एवं सेथिपाई उत्पादन बढ़िला एवं जिते बेले आज 2014 मसीहा को जदि आमे आसीबा ये प्रक्रियाकरण तो आमर आग को बढ़िला कृषि उत्पादन आमर बढ़ी एवं आज मध्य आमे केवल कृषि उत्पादन बढ़ीना रप्तानी करने मध्य आज आम देश भी आज ये क्षेत्र में आगुआ हो पारी एवं आम राज्य मध्य आज आमे आज रप्तानी पाई मध्य आज आमे आगुआ ये क्षेत्र में आमे पहुँची पारी। 2014 मसीह यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी दायित्व ग्रहण करला परे विशेष करके कृषि और कृषक कल्याण को एक नुआ दशा एवं दिशा मिलला जो कि आमे जदि देखिबा ताहले 2014 मसीह आमर एमएसपी केते थिला 1300 टंका थिला बा 1310 टंका थिला आज वृद्धि पाइक 2300 टंकार पहुँची एवं यही समय भितर प्रधानमंत्री आमर एमएसपी को तो बढ़ेले 1310 टंकार 2300 टंका को किंतु जो माने क्षुद्र एवं नाम मात्र चाषी अच्छी तांको पाई इनपुट क्रय करने प्रधानमंत्री कृषक सम्मान निधि योजना को से 6000 टंका चाषी मान को आज 3टी किस्ती रे वर्ष को आज देवार ये काम आज से करुछंती। एणु निश्चित भाव में गोटे पटे पीएम किसान अन्य पटे राज्य सरकार तरफ आम सरकार आसिला परे सीएम किसान यह करने द्वारा 6000 आज चाषी को आज आम दौचु जहाद्वारा प्रधानमंत्री द्वारा करा जाइथिबा जो नुआ योजना गुड़िक प्रधानमंत्री कृषि सिंचाई योजना प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना एवं कृषि भित्तिभूमिर विकास पाई मध्य क्षेत्र प्रस्तुति करने अद्भुतपूर्व भाव में आज दिन में 2014 मसीहा ठारू यार द्रुत अग्रगति आज बढ़ी आउ सेथिपाई आज मध्य राज्य में मोट अभिवृद्धिर जो स्थिति थिला 2014 मसीहा पूर्वर आज धीरे धीरे से अभिवृद्धि मध्य बढ़िक 22% को आमर कृषि एवं आनुषंगिक क्षेत्र आज आमर जो राज्य जो अभिवृद्धि जो हुए आमर जो जीडीपी रो जो अभिवृद्धि घटुची ता भितर 22% कृषि भाग आज निश्चित भाव में ये क्षेत्र आसबार आज धीरे धीरे बढ़िबार लक्षण आम देखा पाऊँ। आज चाषी भाई भौणी मान को मु धन्यवाद देवी जे एक आम राज्य जोटा कि शस्य नियंटिया राज्य हिसाब रे बहुत समय रे आमे ताकर अनुभव करिसंती थिला केते बेले भोकर भूगोल तो आउ केते बेले आमर चाषी को सहायता देवा एवं कृषि कार्य अग्रगति कराइबारे कौठी ना कौठी प्राकृतिक विपर्यय कारण हो बा सरकार तरफ सहयोगर हाथ बढ़ाइबारे कौठी ना कौठी गोटे व्यवधान थिबा कारण शस्य नियंटिया राज्य हिसाब रे ओडिशा थिला समय आज परिवर्तन होईछि आउ आज चाषी भाई भणी माने जो माने दिन राति परिश्रम करी मेहनत करी आज कृषि कार्य रे आज अग्रगति कराइबा द्वारा आज बड़का राज्य रे ओडिशा आज परिणत होईछि एवं सेथिपाई निश्चित भाव में चाषी भाई मानकर कठिन परिश्रम कारण आज होईछि। जदि आम विगत दिन में आहरी दी पद कथा कहवाई मुझे चाहिए ताले वास्तविक जदिओ चाषी आय एवं चाष कार्य आज आखिदृशिया हो पारी तथापि आम जदि भारत वर्षर चाषी सहित तुलना करवा से माने किभली भाव में आधुनिक कृषि प्रणाली रे चाष काम करी आज चाषर आय को तांकर द्विगुणित करने सहित आयर वृद्धि करि पारिछंती जदि आमे देखिबा ताले आम राज्य से दृष्टिकोण आज भी पछुआ अछि जेते बेले 22-23 ए आर्थिक वर्ष रे आमे जदि आम चाषीर आय देखिबा ताले निश्चित भाव में बहुत पछरे आमे अछंती आउ तल आड़ू भी आमे द्वितीय स्थान रे अछंती। ये कथा आज मते स्वीकार करिया पई पड़ुछि। आउ आज आम सरकार आसिला परे आमे गोटे वर्ष भी आमर हेई नहीं 10 मासर ये सरकार ता भितरे आमे उद्यम आरंभ करिछु चाषी को किभली भाव में तार आय रे वृद्धि घटिब एवं जोटा आपंकर प्राकृतिक विपर्यय कारण चाषीर क्षति होता है ताहाको भरणी करिबा पई निरंतर भाव में उद्यम आरंभ करिबा पई आमे निश्चित भाव में आज आमे जो काम करुछु एवं चाषी को जो इनपुट असिस्टेंट बा आर्थिक सहायता आमे दौचु जहाँकि MSP 2300 टंकार इनपुट असिस्टेंट 800 टंका देवा फल पर क्विंटाल रे 3100 टंका आज आमे पर क्विंटाल रे दे पारुछु। आपण मने पकांतु विगत दिन जिते बड़े गत सरकार केंद्र सरकार उपरे आंगुड़ी देखौथिले जे चाषी ताहार चाष कार्य चाष काम जेतिकी ताहार इन्वेस्टमेंट करुछि सेतिकी आय करि पारु नाही आउ लाभ पाई पारु नाही क्षति सौची आउ सेथिपाई तांकु सर्वनिम्न सहायक मूल्य बा MSP गोटाए विधानसभा रेजुलेशन करा जाइथिला से समय रे एवं 2950 टंका दिया जाउ बोली दाबी करा जाइथिला केंद्र निकट रे एवं आज देखंतु से समय रे रेजुलेशन कर राज्य सरकार पठेइथिले किंतु राज्य सरकार भी चाहिए दे पारि थान्ते 2950 टंका सी देले नहीं केवल गोटे विधानसभा रे गत सरकार रेजुलेशन करी प्रस्ताव टी पारित कर देकरी केंद्र सरकार निकट में पठे देकरी चुपचाप होकर रहीगले। आज आम 3100 टंका देलु पर क्विंटाल रे आम केंद्र सरकार को चिट्ठी लिखिलु ये तो डबल इंजिन सरकार अच्छी आम कही पारि थांतु किंतु आम चाषी को कमिटमेंट देइछु आम सरकार आसिले ओडिशा राज्य रे आमे चाषी को 3100 टंकार पर क्विंटाल रे आमे धान किणीबू चाषी ठारू आमे नेबू एवं चाषी 800 टंका बोनस पाइबो बा इनपुट असिस्टेंट पाइबो देई पारिले नहीं कहितिले बरगढ़ सहेला ठारे चाषी को आमे बोनस आकार रे मुख्यमंत्री तत्कालीन कहितिले नवीन बाबू 100 टंका मु पर क्विंटाल रे देबी बोली चाषी को देले कि चाषी प्रति भावना केमिति अच्छी आउ आमे जो दिन सरकार आसिले शपथ पार ग्रहण करले गत जून मास 12 तारीख रे गोटे घंटा पर कैबिनेट बसिला कैबिनेट रे निष्पत्ति हैला ये प्रस्ताव टी पारित हला अनुमोदन करा गला जे चाषी को आगामी दिन रे जेते बेले धान किणा जीव धान संग्रह करा जीव पेडी प्रोक्योरमेंट समय रे चाषी को 800 टंका इनपुट सहायता पर क्विंटाल रे दिया जीव। ए कथा तो मु विधानसभा रे मध्य से दिन कहली बजट सेशन समय रे जे आमे 17 लाख पाखापाखि चाषी परिवार को आमे आर्थिक सहायता दे पारिलु एवं सबुठारु अधिक लाभ पाइथिबा चाषी होउचंती एई विधानसभा रे अछंती आग धाड़ी रे बसिथिबा पूर्वतन अर्थ मंत्री आजिर विधायक मान्यवर निरंजन पुजारी महोदय सी तांकर चाषी से जड़े बड़ चाषी जमीदारिया चाषी तांकर अछि केते लाभ पाइले ना सी अधिक बोनस आकार 45 लाख टंका पाइले 45 लाख टंका पाइले बिजु जनता दल विधायक पाइले आर्थिक सहायता आम सरकार जोगई देले कहूतिले लबी रे जे सतरे तो सरकार आसिला 800 टंका बोनस दे देले मु 45 लाख टंका लाभ पाइली अधिक किंतु ये टंका तो आम सरकार भी दे पारि थांते कौन आमे कौन 2 मास भितर 3 मास भितर आम राजस्व बढ़ई देलु कि ना टंका कौटू आनिलु आमे सही तो बजेट जहाँ व्यवस्था भितर आमे केमनी दे पारलु से सरकार कहीं दे पारले नहीं चाषींकर पाई भावना भल रहिबा उचित तांको सहायक हेबा आउ ये कार्यटी गत सरकार करिबार आवश्यकता थिला टंका तो थिला 100 टंका देई पारले नाही आश्चर्य कथा आमे 800 टंका देई देलु केमिति हला इच्छा शक्ति रो अभाव थिला सेते बेले आउ आज इच्छा शक्ति आम पाखरे प्रबल अछि जोथि पई कि आमे जणे चाषी को लक्ष लक्ष टंकार आज आमे तांको लाभ देई पारिलु चाषी आज हसिला जेते बेले गत 21 तारीख रे आमे सम्बलपुर को जाइथिलु मुख्यमंत्री अभियोग प्रकोष्ठ जनशुणाणी करबा पई सरकार जाइथिले भुवनेश्वर रु 10 जन मंत्री जाइथिले माननीय केबीजी भी जाइथिले सम्बलपुर को आमे पूर्व दिन रे आमे जाई आर दिन सकाळु आमे लोकंकर गुहारी सुनिलु 8000 लोकंकर गुहारी सुनिलु सेते बेले बरगढ़ रु सम्बलपुर रु चाषी आसिले सरकार को संवर्धना दबा पाई धन्यवाद दबा पाई जे आज चाषी तार उपयुक्त प्राप्य पाई पारिछि आउ ताहा संभव हेछि लोकंकर सरकार आपण मानकर सरकार आम सरकार ये आपण मानकर आशीर्वाद कारण महाप्रभु जगन्नाथ आशीर्वाद कारण ताहा आज संभव हो पारिछि ये कथा मु आपण मानकर पाखरे आज मने पकई देबा पई आज मु चाहूछि एण वास्तविक किंतु जेतिकी आज आमर आय बढ़ी जेतिकी आमे उत्पादन बढ़ई छंती अल्प दिन समय भितरे ताहा सफिशिएंट कि नुह आज भी आमे बहुत पछरे अछंती ये कथा मु आपण मानकर पाखरे मु कहली आमको केवल ये धान रे उत्पादन बढ़ई देले हेबो नाही पनीपरिबा क्षेत्र रे मध्ये आमको आगो को जीवा पई पड़िबो आउ सेति पई उत्पादन रे स्वावलंबी हेबा पई पड़िबो आज मध्ये आमे आलू पई निर्भर करूचंती पश्चिम बंग उपरे पियाज पई महाराष्ट्र रसुण पई राजस्थान आउ गुजरात टमाटो पई बांगलोर मटर छुई पई रांची रायपुर एमिति अनेक जगह निर्भर हवा पई हमको पड़ुछि आउ गोटे कथा भी सत कथा जदि आम देखा पड़ोशी आंध्रु जदि कदली न आसिले आम ठाकुर पाखे भोग भी लगी पारे ना बहुत समय रे ये परिस्थिति भी अच्छी किंतु जो सुधार आसी आमको अधिक आग को जीवाई पड़ो जदि मु ये कथा कहवाई चाहिए आज कृषि विभाग तरफ आमर ये कृषि विश्वविद्यालय तरफ आज विभिन्न कृषि जलवायु अंचल को चिन्हट करा जाइछि एवं सेगुड़िक भितरु आज जदि देखिबा ताले आम ओडिशा रे 10टी विभिन्न कृषि जलवायु अंचल मध्य अछि ताकु चिन्हट करा जाइछि आग्रो क्लाइमेटिक जोन अछि ये जो आग्रो क्लाइमेटिक जोन अछि से सब जगार कौ कृषि क्षेत्र में कौ कृषि कार्य करा जाई पारिबो ताहा मध्य विश्वविद्यालय तरफ स्थिरीकृत करा जाई सारी आज एठी निर्देशक कहूतिले जे सेतिपाई केते किसमर पाखापाखि 151 किसमर धान मध्य आमे एठी आमे बिहन आज आमे उत्पादन करिछु जहा कि भारत वर्ष रे रेकर्ड करिछि एनु सेबड़ी क्षेत्र में आमे काहीकि आम चाषी कार्य रे कृषक मान को सहायक हो पारिलो नाही एनु निश्चित भाव में आज सेतिपाई आपण माने आज आमको दायित्व देइछंती एवं राजनैतिक इच्छाशक्ति आम पाखरे अछि निश्चित भाव में आगामी दिन में से आम सरकार आज एक संकल्प नहीं योजना करिछंती आमे लॉन्ग टर्म समाधान पाई योजना करिछु एवं से कार्यक्रम नहींछु आउ कृषि कार्यर सबुठारु सहयोग करबा पाई जो विभागटी से विभागटी होउछि जलसेचन विभाग यदि जलसेचन विभाग कृषि विभाग को सहयोग करे ताले निश्चित भाव में कृषि कार्य आगे पारिबो आउ सेतिपाई ए वर्ष आमे दायित्व नहींछु मु निजे कृषि जलसेचन विभाग मंत्री मु कहली आमको अतीत जो सरकार कही प्रति ब्लॉक को 35% जलसेचन करवा ता परवर्ती पर्याय कहले प्रति 5 वर्ष रे आमे 10 लाख हेक्टर को जलसेचन करवा ये नारा ये नेरेटिव आ नारा धीरे धीरे केवल खाता पत्र रही जाइछि आज भी आउ ताकू केबे आमे आगु को नेबा वास्तवता केबे देबा आउ सेथिपाई मो विभागर आमर डीसी मैडम को मु कहली मैडम आमे से स्लोगानबाजी रे चलिबो नाही आमको करबा पई पड़िबो आउ सेथिपाई ए वर्ष मु टार्गेट निजे मु नेली 15 लाख हेक्टर जमी को जलसेचन जोगे दिया जिवो आउ सेथिपाई आमको बजेट जहाँ अर्थ दरकार हबो 15,000 कोटी रु अधिक टंका 15,000 कोटी टंका ये जलसेचन व्यवस्था जदि आम करई दे पारिबा ताले चाषीर मनोबल आउ चाषीर कार्य आगक जावाई चाषीर आय द्विगुणित होगापी आमको कौन प्रकार प्रतिबंधक आउ रहिबो नाही आउ सेथिपाई आज जलसेचन को व्यापक भाव में आज व्यवस्था करने आमको संकल्प नापी पड़ो समस्त सहयोग दरकार। गत 24 वर्ष भितर 1 लाख कोटी टंका खर्च हो सारा जलसेचन बाबद केते हेलानी सुदीप्त भाई 1 लाख कोटी टंका 24 वर्ष रे खर्च हेलानी केते जलसेचन होईची प्रथम कही प्रति 35% तापरे कहले प्रति 5 वर्ष रे 10 लाख हेक्टर हिसाब करथिले केते हेई थांता 25 वर्ष रे जदि आमे हेक्टर माने 5 लाख हेक्टर करी 10 लाख हेक्टर करी 50 लाख हेक्टर होता कि नहीं केते हेला मात्र 17 लाख हेक्टर ये 17 लाख हेक्टर जो होईची सेहीटा भी कागज कलम रे होईची बोली मु जते बाजे विभाग रो खोजुची कोउठी हेला कोउठी कौ जमी रे हेला कौ जगह रे हेला मु खोजी की पाउ नाही कागज कलम रे होईची जेतिकी जो 17 लाख हेक्टर होईची ताहा मध्य कागज कलम रे मते लागे आउ सेथि पई जोटा 35% कथा कहूतिले सबु ब्लॉक रे हेई नाही किछि ब्लॉक रे 50% अच्छी किछि ब्लॉक रे 35% अच्छी किछि ब्लॉक रे मो ब्लॉक रे सेठी तो 19% अच्छी आउ कोठी 15% अच्छी तो आज पर्यंत 80 पाखापाखि ब्लॉक रे 35% रु बहुत तले अच्छी ताहले आम ये स्लोगान आमर 25 वर्ष धरी स्लोगान चलिबो आउ आमे सेही स्लोगान रे आमे चलिबा आपण माने सचेतन होइछंती सरकार बदलैछंती नुआ दायित्व आमको देइछंती गत सरकार केवल काम कम प्रचार बेसी थिला आउ सेथिरे अनेक चाषी एइटी बसछंती आम चाषी भाई माने चाषी भौणी माने आपण मान को भीतर भी मु सुनिछि बेड़े बेड़े कान रे माने कान कुआ कथा मु सुनिछि जे सेते बेले गुटे स्लोगान बाजी मु अनेक समय चलुथला जमी को जल ठिकादार को बड़ अर्थात जलसेचन विभाग ये टंका तो ठिकादार मान को दिया जाउथला टेंडर आउ का बांटी दिया होउथला राधे राधे आज से समय परिवर्तन होईछि आउ से राधे राधे चलिबो नाही भल ठिकादार को काम दिया जिवो जलसेचन 15 लाख हेक्टर को मु टार्गेट करिछि 5 वर्ष भितर करबा पई पड़िबो प्रथम वर्ष रे 15,000 कोटी टंका एथिरे आगामी 5 वर्ष भितर निश्चित भाव में 80,000 कोटी ऊर्ध्व टंका खर्च माने पाखापाखि लक्षे कोटी टंका खर्च करा जिवो एवं ये 5 वर्ष रे 15 लाख हेक्टर चाष जमी जलसेचन करा जिवो ये प्रतिश्रुति मु निश्चित भाव में चाषी भाई मान को दउची आ निजे मध्य मु दायित्व नउची ये काम को करिक देखैबा पई बंधुगण जलसेचन रो काम आ कृषि कार्यर काम आग को बढ़ी पारु नाही जेते आम स्लोगानबाजी काम करले मध्य यार मध्य आउ गोटे बड़ कारण होउची सेटा होउची केभिजी व्यस्त अछंती टिके से कामटा कहिसंती जल शीतल भंडार जे पर्यंत शीतल भंडार न होईची आज आलू मिशन फेल पणस मिशन आमे देखी नाहू पियाज मिशन कुआडे गला पता नहीं मिशन पर मिशन गत सरकार रो कृषि मंत्री माने अनेक कहते किए कहते लेंबू रे प्रथम भारत वर्ष रे आम ओडिशा बोली ये गत 19 पर कहते आम कृषि मंत्री आम ये कथा को बहुत पाखर देखी किंतु तार वास्तवता किसी नथिला आज शीतल भंडार नहीं आउ सेथिपाई गत 24 वर्ष भितर जेते बेले 24 गोटी नुआ शीतल भंडार प्रतिष्ठा हो पारिला नहीं आउ जो गुड़िक भी थिला ता भितरु 70% शीतल भंडार अकामी बंद हो पड़ी ताकू रिपेयरिंग करने पुनर्बार चालू करने सरकार निष्पत्ति गत सरकार समय निगला नहीं आम सरकार आसला आज आम सबू सब डिविजन शीतल भंडार स्थापन हम 58 अच्छी आमर सब डिविजन ओडिशा रे ସର୍ବପ୍ରଥମେ 58ଟି ଶୀତଳ ଭଣ୍ଡାର ପ୍ରତିଷ୍ଠା ହେବ। ଆଉ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ନୂଆ ନୀତି ଆମେ ଆଣିଛୁ, ଶୀତଳ ଭଣ୍ଡାର ନୀତି। ଆଉ ସେଇ ନୀତି ଅନୁସାରେ 252 କୋଟି ଟଙ୍କା ମଧ୍ୟ ଚଳିତ ବର୍ଷ ବଜେଟ୍ରେ ଏଥିରେ ଆର୍ଥିକ ବ୍ୟବସ୍ଥା କରାଯାଇଛି। ସେଥିରେ ସବସିଡ଼ି ଏବଂ ଯେଉଁଗୁଡ଼ିକ ଅଚଳ ଅଛି ତାକୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆର୍ଥିକ ସହାୟତା ପ୍ରଦାନ କରିବା ସହିତ ଆଗାମୀ ଦିନରେ ଏ କାମକୁ ତ୍ୱରାନ୍ୱିତ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଆମେ ପ୍ରତିଶ୍ରୁତିବଦ୍ଧ। ରୋଜଗାର ବୃଦ୍ଧି କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାଷୀମାନଙ୍କର କୃଷି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟ ସହିତ ଖାଲି କୃଷି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକ୍ରମେ ଆମେ କେବେ ରୋଜଗାର ବଢ଼ିବ ନାହିଁ। ଖାଲି ଧାନ ଚାଷ କାମ କଲେ କି ଅନ୍ୟ କୃଷି କାମ କଲେ, ତା ସହିତ ଆମକୁ ୟାର ଆନୁଷାଙ୍ଗିକ କୃଷି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ନେବା ପାଇଁ ପଡ଼ିବ। ଆପଣମାନେ ବି ନେଉଛନ୍ତି, ମୁଁ ନ ନେଉଛନ୍ତି ବୋଲି କହୁନାହିଁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ତାକୁ ଯୋଜନାବଦ୍ଧ ଭାବରେ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡ଼ିବ। ଆଉ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମର ଆନୁଷାଙ୍ଗିକ କ୍ଷେତ୍ର ମତ୍ସ୍ୟ ପଶୁପାଳନ ବିଭାଗ, ଗୋପାଳନ ବିଭାଗ ଏ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମକୁ ଯୋଡ଼ି ହେବା ପାଇଁ ପଡ଼ିବ। ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମାଛ ଚାଷ, ପ୍ରାଣୀ ପାଳନ, ଗୋପାଳନ, କୁକୁଡ଼ା ଓ ବତକ ଚାଷ ଇତ୍ୟାଦି ଆନୁଷାଙ୍ଗିକ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟ ଆମକୁ ହାତେଇବା ପାଇଁ ପଡ଼ିବ। ତେବେ ଯାଇକରି ଆମକୁ ଅଧିକ କୃଷି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟରେ ଆଗକୁ ଯିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡ଼ିବ। ମୁଁ ଏଠି କହିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହେଁ, ଆମ ମୁଖ୍ୟମନ୍ତ୍ରୀ କୃଷି ଉଦ୍ୟୋଗ ଯୋଜନା ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ 1 କୋଟି ଟଙ୍କା ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ସବସିଡ଼ି ଅଛି। ଆମେ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଲୋନ୍ ନେବା 1 କୋଟି ତ ମାଗଣାରେ ଆମକୁ ମିଳିବ, ଅର୍ଥାତ୍ ସବସିଡ଼ି ନିଃଶୁଳ୍କ। ଏ ଯେଉଁ ସବସିଡ଼ି ମିଳିଗଲେ ଆମେ ଯେଉଁ କାମଟି କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଆମକୁ ତାକୁ ସହାୟତା ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ବଢ଼ିପାରିବ। ଆଉ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମେ ଯେଉଁ ଆଜି PM କିଷାନ, CM କିଷାନ ଇଏ ଯେଉଁ 10,000 ଟଙ୍କା ଆମେ ବର୍ଷକୁ ଚାଷୀଙ୍କୁ ଦେଉଛୁ, ତାହା ଦ୍ୱାରା ଆପଣମାନେ ମଧ୍ୟ କୃଷି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟରେ ନିୟୋଜିତ ହୋଇ ଏବଂ ନିଜେ ଏ କାମରେ ସମ୍ପୃକ୍ତ ହୋଇକରି ଆପଣମାନେ କୁକୁଡ଼ା, ବତକ, ଛେଳି ଇଏ ପାଳନ କରିବା ସହିତ କୃଷି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟ କରିପାରିବେ, ଯେଉଁଥିପାଇଁ କି ଆୟ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ବୃଦ୍ଧି ହେବ। ଏଥିରେ ଦ୍ୱିମତ ନାହିଁ। ଆଜି ଅନେକ ଚାଷୀ ଉଦାହରଣ ପାଲଟିଛନ୍ତି। ଆମେ ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ ବହୁ ସମୟରେ ମଝିରେ ଦେଖୁଛୁ। ମଝିରେ ଗୋଟେ ଆମର ବରମୁଣ୍ଡା ବସଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡରେ କ'ଣ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକ୍ରମ ହୋଇଥିଲା, ଏବେ ଯେଉଁ ହୋଇଥିଲା ମେଳା, କୃଷି ମେଳା। ଇଏ କୃଷି ମେଳାରେ ଆମେ ଅନେକ ଚାଷୀଙ୍କୁ ଆସିଥିଲେ, ଉଦାହରଣ ଦେଇଛୁ, ଦେଖିଛୁ। ସେମାନେ ଦ୍ୱିଗୁଣିତ କ'ଣ ବହୁଗୁଣିତ କରିକି ଆୟ କରିକି ଆଜି ସେମାନେ ଉଦାହରଣ ପାଲିଛନ୍ତି। ପନିପରିବାରେ, କିଏ ଫଳ ଚାଷ କରିବାରେ, ଆଉ କିଏ ମାଣ୍ଡିଆ ଚାଷ କରିବାରେ, ଏ ପ୍ରକାରର ବିଭିନ୍ନ ଚାଷ କାମରେ ଆଜି। ଏଣୁ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଏଥିରେ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ଭାବରେ ଆମ ସରକାର ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କର ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ଅଛନ୍ତି। ଆଗାମୀ ଦିନରେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଚାଷ କାମରେ କିଭଳି ବୃଦ୍ଧି ହୋଇପାରିବ, ଆଉ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମେ ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କୁ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ସମସ୍ତ ପ୍ରକାରର ସହଯୋଗ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଆମ ସରକାର ପ୍ରସ୍ତୁତ ଅଛନ୍ତି। ଶେଷରେ ମୁଁ ଏତିକି କହିବି ଯେ ଆମେ ଚାଷୀ ତାର ଚାଷ କାମରେ ଆରମ୍ଭ ଠାରୁ ଫସଲ ଅମଳ କରି ଘରକୁ ନେବା ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ସମସ୍ତ ପ୍ରକ୍ରିୟାକରଣ ଭିତରେ କେଉଁଠି ନା କେଉଁଠି ଯଦି ଚାଷୀ କାମରେ, ତାହାର ଅମଳ କାମରେ କ୍ଷତି ହେଲା, ବାଧା ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହେଲା ଏବଂ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ପ୍ରାକୃତିକ ବିପର୍ଯ୍ୟୟ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ହେଉ ବା ଯେକୌଣସି ପରିସ୍ଥିତିରେ ପ୍ରଧାନମନ୍ତ୍ରୀ ଫସଲ ବୀମା ଯୋଜନା, ଫସଲ ବିବିଧକରଣ, ସମନ୍ୱିତ କୃଷି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକ୍ରମ, ଆହୁରି ତା ସହିତ ମଧ୍ୟ ଏ ସମସ୍ତ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକ୍ରମକୁ ଆମେ ଯୋଡ଼ିକରି ଯେଉଁ ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କର ସହିତ ମିଶିକରି ଏ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକ୍ରମ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଯେଉଁ ଉଦ୍ୟମ ଆଜି କରିଛୁ, ତାହା ଦ୍ୱାରା ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଚାଷୀର ସମସ୍ତ ପ୍ରକାର ମଙ୍ଗଳ ହେବ। ଏବଂ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମେ ଆଜିର ଦିନରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଶ୍ରୀ ଅନ୍ନ ଯୋଜନା ମଧ୍ୟ ଏଭଳି କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକ୍ରମ ମଧ୍ୟ ଅଭିଯାନ ଆମେ ନେଉଛୁ। ତାହା ଦ୍ୱାରା ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଆମେ ଯେଉଁ କୃଷକ ସମୃଦ୍ଧ କୃଷକ ଯୋଜନା ଏ ଯେଉଁ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକ୍ରମ କରିବା ଦ୍ୱାରା ଆଜି ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଆପଣମାନେ ଉପକୃତ ହୋଇଛନ୍ତି। ଆଗାମୀ ଦିନରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଚାଷର କାମକୁ ଆହୁରି ଆଧୁନିକ ପ୍ରଣାଳୀରେ, ବୈଜ୍ଞାନିକ ପ୍ରଣାଳୀରେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ କରାଯାଇପାରିବ ତାହା ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମେ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଯାଉଛୁ। ବନ୍ଧୁଗଣ, ଗତ ବର୍ଷ ଚାଷ ଭଲ ହୋଇଥିଲା ଖରିଫ ଋତୁରେ। ଆଉ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ରେକର୍ଡ ସ୍ତରର 73.50 ଲକ୍ଷ ମେଟ୍ରିକ୍ ଟନ୍ର ଧାନ ଚାଷୀ ଭାଇମାନଙ୍କ ଠାରୁ ଆମେ ଧାନ ସଂଗ୍ରହ କରିବାରେ ରେକର୍ଡ କରିପାରିଛୁ। ଏବଂ ସେଇଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଆମର ମଣ୍ଡି ଜରିଆରେ ଆମେ ସଂଗ୍ରହ କରିଛୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଅନେକ। ଏବଂ ଆମେ ମାଣ୍ଡିଆ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମେ ସଂଗ୍ରହ କରିଛୁ ମଣ୍ଡି ଜରିଆରେ 7.64 ଲକ୍ଷ କୁଇଣ୍ଟାଲ। ମାଣ୍ଡିଆର ସର୍ବନିମ୍ନ ସହାୟକ ମୂଲ୍ୟ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆମର 4,290 ଟଙ୍କା ଯେତେବେଳେ ଥିଲା, ତାକୁ ବୃଦ୍ଧି କରିକି 210 ଟଙ୍କା, 4,500 ଟଙ୍କା ଚାଷୀମାନଙ୍କୁ ନୂଆ ରେଟ୍ରେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଦିଆଯାଇପାରିଛି। ଏହା କରିବା ଦ୍ୱାରା ସରକାରର ଯେଉଁ ଦାୟିତ୍ୱବୋଧତା ଆଜି ବଢ଼ିଛି, चाषी को साहाय्य करने आज आम करुचु एवं आज कपा उत्पादन में आमर वृद्धि घटी आशार कपा सबुठारु उन्नत मानर होता कारण आज यह भारत वर्ष में सर्वश्रेष्ठ मान्यता संपन्न कस्तूरी कटन तालिकार आज आमको अंतर्भुक्त पारी एणु शुभ दिन आसूची भल दिन आसूची चाषींकर पाई निश्चित भाव में कृषि विभाग समस्त योजनार मिलुवा समस्त सुविधा सुजोग चाषी भाई भणी माने जानतु यार सठिक उपयोग करंतु एवं एबे जो ट्रैक्टर पावर टिलर एवं आमर चिराचरित जो आमर हल लंगल मध्य जोठी भी जो कार्यक्रम माध्यम आम करूछंती ताकू आम अधिक उपयोग केमिति करा जाई पारिबो एवं सेथिपाई आमको निश्चित भाव में किभली भाव में ये मौसुमी भल आसीबो ये कथा आमर जो माने पंडित अछंती आमर पंजीकार माने से माने आमको जणै दैछंती जे गत वर्ष अपेक्षा ए वर्ष मौसुमी वर्षा कृषि ये अनुकूल रहिबो कृषि क्षेत्र निश्चित भाव में ए वर्ष आहुरी रेकर्ड परिमाण रे निश्चित भाव में जीव आउ सेथिपाई आजिर ए पवित्र दिन रे अक्षय तृतीयार शुभ अवसर रे आज महाप्रभु श्री जगन्नाथंकर पाखरे मु निश्चित भाव में प्रार्थना करी एवं महाप्रभु बलदेव जी पाखे बलभद्र पाखे मु प्रार्थना करी से कृषिर भगवान तांको निकट में प्रार्थना करी जे आगामी दिन में कृषि कार्य आमर आय द्विगुणित नुह बहुगुणित हवा सहित किभली भाव में चाषी हसिब आउे ये देश हसिब ये समाज हसिब यही आधार में महाप्रभु जगन्नाथ निकट में प्रार्थना करी मोर वक्तव्य को विराम दौची धन्यवाद वंदे उत्कल जननी मो ये आमर चाषी विषय रे कृषक विषय रे आमर जो गोटे कविता कहवाई मु कहूली गोटे शब्द रे जो आमर स्वभाव कवि गंगाधर मेहर तांकर प्रपौत्र ये उपस्थित अछंती एवं कृषक संगीत ये बहीटीर आज पुनरेठी लोकार्पण करागला एवं से बहीटी मु धरिकी आसी एवं से चाषी उपरे चाषी को सचेतन करने चाषी को चाष कम सक्रिय रही चाषरे आय केमती वृद्धि हो पार चाषीर मन केमती वृद्धि हेब से अनेक गुड़ाए कविता माध्यम से चाषी को से लिखिं वास्तविक यह हूँ स्वभाव कवि गंगाधर मेहरंकर ये हूँ ये कृषक संगीत जो रचित करछंती आम पाई निश्चित भाव में ये बहुत बड़ा गोटे मूल्यवान ग्रंथ सदृश्य आउ को लेकर आम निश्चित भाव में कृषि कार्य आग को जापर आउ गोटे पंक्ति मुझे उद्धार करने चाहूँगी से तांकर विभिन्न कविता माध्यम गोटे अच्छी कृषिर गौरव ये कृषिर गौरव रे शेष धाड़ी से अति चमत्कार भाव में से लिखिं से लिखाई कृषि तर वेदरे कृषि तो पुराण कृषि बिना रही नपारई पराण कृषि ज्ञानी नृपति कृषि ज्ञानी सभ्य कृषि बड़े आयुश्री संपद सकले हुए लभ्य ये कथाटी अति चमत्कार भाव में से लिखिं और तार महात्म बहुत आज दिन में आवश्यकता मन करे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
माननीय मुख्यमंत्री सम्माननीय श्री मोहन चरण माझी महोदय निकट में आम अनेक कृतज्ञता अर्पण करूँ। आनुष्ठानिक धन्यवाद अर्पण पर सम्माननीय श्रीयुक्त शुभम सक्सेना महोदय वरेण्य निर्देशक कृषि और खाद्य उत्पादन विभाग को निवेदन करूँ। धन्यवाद अर्पण
समस्त को नमस्कार। मु आज अक्षय तृतीयार पावन अवसर से आमर राज्य स्तरीय कृषक दिवस रे आस्थिबार माननीय मुख्यमंत्री उड़ीसा श्रीयुक्त मोहन चरण माझी महोदय को आंतरिकता से धन्यवाद अर्पण करूँ। कृषि विभाग तरफ आमर उप मुख्यमंत्री महाशय एवं मंच रे उपस्थित अन्य अतिथि वृंद को भी मु धन्यवाद अर्पण करूँ। या साथ रे आमर सहित जिला रे जड़ित अच्छी सबू मान्यवर अतिथि वृंद एवं आम आस्थिबार चाषी भाई और भौणी माने एवं मीडिया बंधुगणों भी मुझे धन्यवाद अर्पण करुच्ची। धन्यवाद।
सम्माननीय निर्देशक महोदय को धन्यवाद दे मंच मंडन करिथिबा वरेण्य मुख्य अतिथि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महोदय, वरेण्य अतिथि सम्माननीय उपमुख्यमंत्री महोदय सहित वरेण्य विधायक श्रीत बाबू सिंह महोदय को एवं डॉक्टर अरविंद पाढ़ी महोदय को तथा मंच मंडन करिथिबा सम्माननीय कुलपति महोदय मेहर मेहर ठाରୁ आरंभ करी दुई वरेण्य निर्देशक महोदय को साधुवाद देउछु एवं आपण मान को मध्य विशेष बधाई एवं कृषि और कृषक सशक्तिकरण विभाग वरिष्ठ अधिकारी मानकर निरवच्छिन्न प्रयास एक सफल रूपायन आज कार्यक्रम समस्त अधिकारी को साधुवाद एवं कृतज्ञता जनाऊँ एवं यहाँ परे माननीय डॉक्टर अरविंद पाढ़ी महोदय आपण मान जानती श्रीमंदिर प्रशासन मुख्य प्रशासक भाव से महाप्रभुंकर रथ निर्माण विशेष कार्यक्रम परिचालना से यही स्थान श्रीक्षेत्र जीवे आम अनेक अनेक शुभकामना जनाऊँ एवं परिशेष गणमाध्यम प्रतिनिधि बंधु आपण मान बधाई जनाई आज ए विशेष कार्यक्रम में कृषि और कृषक सशक्तिकरण विभाग तरफ सफलतार श्रेय आपण मान प्रदान करुछु। वंदे उत्कल जननी, जय जगन्नाथ।
जेबे कॉलेज सरप्राइज टेस्ट रे रैंकर रीना, बैक बेंचर बीणा, चगला श्याम आउ तारो बेस्ट फ्रेंड राम समस्त पास ही जानती सेबे मजा ही जाए। प्रतिटी ब्रेक रे असली अल्फांजो आउ रसालो अंबरू प्रस्तुत मजा ही जाओ।
How are you, Swamiji?
I'm good and excited. Thank you.
All right. Let's dive right in. We were discussing just behind the scenes right now at the conclave about how the new generation is all about finding connection, finding purpose. You were describing to me Dreamforce at the Salesforce office in San Francisco and how they actually have a day dedicated to mindfulness. So what does connection really mean today, Swamiji? What does it mean to this new generation?
Sure, thank you. First of all, I would really like to express my gratitude to India Today and the organizer of this conclave for having me over. And yesterday I did follow a couple of sessions, and I must really congratulate the organizing team for having such an incredible lineup and such incredible content, such beautiful insights. So a big round of applause to India Today first for such a beautiful conclave. Secondly, a big round of applause for the wonderful lineup of speakers and guests. Let's do it, guys. And thirdly, a big loud round of applause for yourselves, because without you and without the people who are watching, you just can't speak what you're sharing, right? So thank you. But what does that purpose and connection mean to the generation today, or for any generation for that matter? Mark Twain, he said something very interesting. He said there are two most important days in your life. The first is the day when you were born, and the second is the day when you find out why. Now, loads of us do know when we were born, but to be able to figure out why we were born is an existential question. And when we talk about purpose, there's a lot of people who are trying to figure out what is the answer to this question, why was I born? I surely wasn't born to just pay 30% income taxes. I surely wasn't born just to pay mortgages, liabilities. I surely wasn't born just to escalate myself to the highest rungs of the corporate ladder and feel that achievement and put my chest out and say, hey, I made it. I surely wasn't born just to do that. There's probably something more that I was born for.
Sure. But Swamiji, you yourself said that 99% of people have to work and do work that they don't actually enjoy, that doesn't actually fulfill their sense of purpose.
Correct.
But they have to eat.
Yes, absolutely.
So then what's the solution to a happy life?
Absolutely, absolutely. I must give you a simple, how many of you guys have deadlines to meet with? Oh, brilliant. What a word, isn't it? Deadlines. Has anybody ever called it a lifeline? You know, by the time you cross that line, what happens? Dead. Has anybody here been a victim of workplace politics, please? Okay, thank you. Some guys are saying, sir, हाथ कैसे उठाएंगे? जो politics करता है बगल में बैठा है. I'm so sorry about that. Has anybody here been under tremendous pressure and stress? Performance pressure and stress? Brilliant. Thank you for being so honest. Showing your hands right up there. There was a poultry farm once, and the owner of the poultry farm came to the poultry farm and started speaking to all the hen, saying, look, I'm giving you so many grains and you're only laying 2 eggs a day. Next Monday on, I want you to lay 10 eggs a day. That's called performance pressures. You want the bucks, lay the eggs, guys. All the hen came together. And they started talking. One of the hens said to the other, last week I just secured an admission for my little chick at Yale. And I need to pay the fees and the scholarship, so I need the grains. The other one said, I just purchased a little house in Malabar Hill. Mortgages to be paid, so no choice, I need to lay 10 eggs. The next Monday, the poultry farm owner came in. He saw every hen there laying 10 eggs, except one. He looked at the fellow and said, look at all your colleagues. They're laying 10 eggs. You're laying only one. The fellow said, thank God I'm laying at least one. Otherwise I'm a rooster. I'll tell you what, guys. Under performance pressure, even roosters have to lay eggs, bloody eggs. And what do I mean by laying eggs under performance pressure? Doing something that I don't love. Doing something that I'm not cut for. Doing something that I'm absolutely not passionate about. I traveled the world speaking to big corporate houses. And it's not an exaggerated number. Over 80% of the professionals who are working out there are getting a thick, fat paycheck because they're so absolutely phenomenally great at what they do, but they're not fulfilled with what they do. They're not satisfied with what they do. I was sharing with Abha an equation that if you're working for about 8 hours a day, average, and if you have a 5 days work week, you spend 40 hours a week at your workplace. If you have 2 weeks a holiday in a year, which is 50 weeks you're working for, you spend about 2,000 hours at your workplace. And if you're working for an average of about 45 years, you spend a bloody 90,000 hours at your workplace. And that's a daunting number. 90,000 hours account to about 10 years of your life. And I have a simple question. Am I going to be spending 90,000 hours in misery? Doing something that I'm paid for, but I'm not fulfilled with? I took that leap. I jumped out of the corporate world. I left Hewlett-Packard to chase something that I love to do, but I definitely do not advocate that. My principle that I talk to people about is get paid for what you're great at, and also side by side add to your life what you love, your passion, even if it is by the side. Because passion doesn't pay your bills immediately. Passion doesn't pay your mortgages and financial liabilities immediately. So it's easy to say that I need to be satisfied with what I do, but we live in the real world. So love what you do and do what you love.
I love that saying and that philosophy, Swamiji, but how do you explain this to the world's big corporates, are they understanding this? Because, we were having that conversation just yesterday about the gig economy and flexi work and the future of work. Are large organizations, global organizations today, listening to this and the fact that this is what today's individual desires?
I think they definitely, like I speak at a lot of corporate events, so the very fact that they're inviting me to speak at this corporate event means there is some space for thoughts like these. But at the same time, I really do not think it's a priority as of now. Because only when something is a priority, that's when you take it seriously. Where attention goes, energy flows. Right? And when we're talking about leadership, I've always felt it's something like this. Like I say, when you talk to managers, you get a feeling that they are important. Yeah. And when you speak to leaders, you get a feeling that you are important. And I think leadership is about creating that sense of importance. Leadership is about creating that sense of care, because every individual out there is saying, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. And Richard Branson, he said something incredible. He said, train your people so well that they can leave you. But treat your people so well that they don't want to leave you. People are going to stay, be loyal, and going to be around only when they're treated well. Nobody wants to be treated like a doormat. I don't think anybody has hatred that you grow. But people have a visceral hatred when your growth comes at their cost. Like I often say, there was this gentleman, he came in his new Mercedes, and his subordinate opened the door for him. He said, what a fantastic car, sir. Incredible. Fascinating. The guy said, well, if you work hard, if you work like 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, you don't take any leaves, any holidays, next year, I'll have a better car than this. So I really do not think people have a problem with your car. But when you have a car and I'm still a bekar, that's where the problem is. And which is why when we're talking about leadership, it's a principle of care, it's a principle of concern, and I think there is definitely increased awareness. And today is the world of social media. Yeah. People don't keep quiet. We are in a time with unlimited possibilities. We are in a time with unlimited scope to express ourselves. People don't keep quiet. So in a time and an age where expression of opinions is at its zenith, I think the awareness is increasing, and probably slowly we are looking at maybe a slow change, but a change.
Are the steps to success different today? What are the key steps to success?
The three steps to success. Number one, let's get the facts right. Success is not just about achievements. This is narrative that the more you have, the more successful you are. But I know people who have a lot and have serious mental health issues. I consider that a failure. I know about, we just lost Mr. Rakesh Junjunwala, and we remember what he said. Remember his words. He said, I have about $5 billion worth. And he said, I only wish God gave me better health. If I have all the money in the world and my mental health is at stake, my emotional health is at stake, my physical health is at stake, my spiritual health is at stake, my social health is at stake, am I successful? So let's not make one element of success as success. Yes, achievements and financial success is a very crucial element, but not the element. You know, a balance, and having paid attention to all of these aspects is when we can truly call ourselves successful. Like one gentleman asked someone, what is the difference between the word complete and finished? He said, well, if you find a right partner in your life to get married to, your life is complete. If you get the wrong one, your life is finished. But if the right one catches you with the wrong one, your life is completely finished. Sorry about that. Sorry. But I think when we're looking at, we want to complete everything, isn't it? Yeah. And which is precisely why it's important we complete our definition of success too, by including those elements that are important for our life, not just for our lifestyle. Achievements and money is about lifestyle. Emotional, mental, social, spiritual health is about our life. And lifestyle and life must go hand in hand. That's when success is completed. And if you're looking at three elements which we really must look at, whatever aspect of success, if you want to be successful, number one is we shouldn't be goal focused, we should be process focused. I see a lot of guys go to the gym. Any of you guys go to the gym? Okay, brilliant. Any of you want to reduce your weight a little bit? Oh God, my God, मेरे एक दोस्त का बहुत बड़ा पेट आया तो मैंने उसको बोला थोड़ा पेट कम कर. उसने मुझे कहा वजन कम करके क्या करना है? एक दिन सबको मरना है. इसीलिए अभी जो भी खाना है खा लो क्योंकि अगले जन्म में फिर 3 किलो से ही शुरू करना है. That guy needed a whack, trust me. Now, when you go to a gym, I see these younger guys going to a gym and doing bicep curls. That's the only exercise they focus on. Because that's the way to woo girls. Show your guns. So you'll see them go to the gym. I'm going to put the microphone down for a second. Even if you don't hear me, it's fine, guys. They'll do this and they'll swing. The biceps don't lift the weight at all. It's the body that's lifting the weight. And in the mirror, they're saying, "Aaya kya?" They should be isolating their biceps and just picking their weight with the biceps, right? So when you're goal focused, you don't get the goal. When you're process focused, you reach there. So whatever it is in your life that you want to achieve, focus on the process. The more consumed you are by the process, there's greater chances you reach the goal than just focusing on the goal and not on the process. The second aspect of reaching that success is to constantly be on the learning curve. There's so much out there in the world to learn. Imagine I'm a monk. I attended 8 of your sessions since yesterday. I attended 8 of your sessions which have nothing to do with my space. Because I'm a learner, right? You know that lady who became a billionaire by writing books? J.K. Rowling. A guy who became a billionaire by selling books? Jeff Bezos, Amazon. And a guy who became a billionaire by reading books? Warren Buffett. Reading, learning. The Dalai Lama once said, if I'm only speaking, I'm repeating what I know. But if I'm listening, I'm always learning something new. But the second aspect of success is constantly being a learner, which means humility, which means vulnerability that I don't know and I need to understand. And number 3, a very crucial aspect of success, as mentioned in the book Outliers, is timing. If you're doing the right thing but at the wrong timing, you don't get it. Social media, or anyone who was there between 2014 and 17, shut up. That was the time. Now you try to put so much effort, it's so difficult to go there. So you focus on the process, learn, invest, and keep going. Apna time.
आ गया.
आएगा. Time सच में आ गया.
No, but okay. I had 2 questions from the audience, which were given to me backstage. One was, and you've always stressed about the importance of relationships, and that's also being a key to happiness. What about marriage? Apart from, of course, having a complete life, but is the concept of marriage now obsolete?
Yeah. I think in the modern world today, so many youngsters, if I ask them, they just don't want to get married. And the reason why they don't want to get married is twofold. Number 1 is seeing the failures in the institution of marriage. When you see marriage as a failed institution, you lose the drive to do what others did back then. And probably they're seeing examples which didn't work. And trust me, most all of you have been in a relationship, are married, or not married, are in a relationship, and you all know that nothing's perfect out there. No human being's perfect, right? एक लड़की एक पंडित जी के पास गई और कह रही है मुझे शादी करनी है पंडित जी. ऐसे लड़के को क्या कहते हैं जो खूबसूरत हो, हैंडसम हो, पैसे वाला हो, एजुकेटेड हो, एंटरप्राइजिंग हो, उसमें एक ड्राइव हो? क्या कहते हैं ऐसे लड़के को? पंडित जी ने कहा मन का वहम कहते हैं बेटा ऐसे लड़के को. Because an imagination of the mind. You don't get such people, right? So when we are talking about marriage as a failed institution, if we looked at it with expectation of perfection, you're never going to find that. Now, whether you're in a live-in relationship, you're in a married relationship, whatever the relationship is, I feel every relationship needs commitment. You need commitment to a relationship. And when you say commitment to a relationship, it means going through all the ups and the downs. There are going to be times when we hit the rock bottom. And still we need to keep making that investment to make that relationship work. The exception obviously would be when it comes to a very toxic level. When it comes to such levels of toxicity that it jeopardizes our very existence, we need to move away and move on. But in every other case, I feel it's commitment, and I think commitment means time. If you just spend 6 months and say, oh, we're not meant for each other. Well, 6 months is such a short time to be even able to understand somebody. It takes a little while, it takes a little bit of commitment, it takes a little bit of spending time, and that's when we probably even understand each other. Yeah?
And the last question, Swamiji, was in the hurry and chaos of life, how do you find your center? How do you manage to stay calm, not lose control, especially, as you said, when everyone's stressed and harrowed and running around trying to achieve those various goals?
Sure. Thank you. I was walking at Oxford Street in London once, and I saw a gentleman who was wearing a t-shirt, and the t-shirt said, "Do not disturb," and underneath in large font was written, "Already disturbed." Right. Like, what more are you going to disturb me? So I see that each one of our lives is going to have a stimulus, a trigger, a cause, a reason for disturbance. Will there ever be a single day in our life that there's no stimulus for being disturbed? The stimulus could be of a massive magnitude or a smaller one, but there is always going to be something that ruins our peace, that ruins our day, that ruins our state of calm, that affects our mental health in severely negative ways. What do we do to find that peace and that calm? 3 things. Right. I think there's 3 things that we should look at. Number 1, we should be looking at what are those things that are within our control. It's what we feed that grows stronger. If I feed my anxiety, it grows stronger. If I feed my peace, it goes stronger. Whatever you feed is going to grow stronger. And how do I feed my anxiety? By constantly focusing on things that are not in my control. Things outside. You know, when it comes to the global economic turmoil today, I can do what I can do, but there are factors just completely beyond my control. Individuals at workplace and personal relationships, can you change their natures? No, they're outside of my control. Rather shifting our attention to things that I can do. To feed that means to find that center. Number 2 is to use all your strength to deal with your issues. There was a man and his daughter, 7-year-old, they were walking on the street and there was a massive tree just fallen on their path. And the little girl said, "Can I move this tree, Dad?" He said, "Of course, if you use all your strength." She tried, she couldn't. She turned to her father, said, "Use all your strength." She tried, she couldn't. He said, "Use all your strength." She still couldn't. She said, "Dad, I'm using all my strength." The man said, "Darling, you're not using all your strength. You're only using your strength. I'm your strength too." Right? So if you're only using your own strength, you're going to be in a pace of disturbance. We need help. We need connections. We need those people who can help us push what we're going through together. And that's when we can come into a space of calm. And the last one, of course, we all need to find that connection, that spiritual connection, that inner connection, which can kind of every single day, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, can help us just enter into that inner space, disconnected from the world of stimulation. That is the way to stay centered and peaceful in a chaotic world.
Swamiji, thank you so
much. Thank you very much, Baba.
So many insights packed into that very short time.
छोटी चीजों पर ध्यान देने से ही बड़े हुए हैं. Small things make a big difference. Tomorrow you're not going to suddenly change. बोला अभी हो गया. It'll take time, and one of the biggest challenge will be this. Not football. हाँ? क्या है उधर? गोल. गोल नहीं बाबा. एक बार ना वन फुटबॉल मैच, इधर दो टीम का, कॉलेज टीम का फुटबॉल मैच था। तो अचानक एक कॉलेज की टीम को पता लगा कि उनका गोलकीपर हर्ट है। अगले दिन फाइनल मैच है, गोलकीपर ही नहीं, ढूंढा ढूंढा कोई मिला नहीं गोल कीपिंग करने के लिए। सो ऐसे ही रास्ते से बेचारा परेशान आत्मा चल के घूम रहा था, उसने एक ऐसा साइड देखा ना, ही सॉ देयर वाज अ ट्रक। तरबूज जानते कलिंगड़, पूरा कलिंगड़ से भरा हुआ ट्रक, और इधर एक गोडाउन था और एक आदमी नीचे और एक आदमी ट्रक पे। ट्रक से वो कलिंगड़ फेंक रहा था, किसी भी एंगल से फेंका ना, नीचे वाला पकड़ लेता था और अंदर वो गोडाउन में डाल देता था। इधर से फेंका, इधर से फेंका, तो ये कॉलेज का स्टूडेंट बोला यार ये तो बेस्ट गोलकीपर यही है। तो उसको जाके बोला मैं तेरे को जितना पैसा चाहिए ना उतना पैसा दूंगा, बस कल यही करना है, ये कलिंगड़ की जगह बॉल रहेगा बस। वो ये तुम्हारा हरा कलिंगड़ और भारी कलिंगड़, ये हल्का फुल्का रबर का कलिंगड़ है, तो कलिंगड़ का जैसे कर रहे वही करना है, मैं तुमको 4 गुना पैसा दूंगा, यू डोंट वरी, रिलैक्स। I said, no problem. Then the final match, the captain decided and tried कि वो opponent team आए नहीं गोल मारने के लिए, it was going to be a tie 0-0. But finally जो opponent team का captain है ना, वो गोल मार के ऐसा last minute आके he kicked the ball, and this guy had so much experience. From wherever the ball came, he picked that ball up, he held the ball and put it inside the goal post. And the team lost. Because that's how habits are. That is how habits are. इतना घुसा हुआ है ना वो सिस्टम में कि वो बॉल वो बराबर पकड़ लिया उसने उसको, लेकिन हर रोज कलिंगड़ ऐसा डाल रहा है, वो डाले जा रहा है, तो हाथ में आ गया तो डाला गया। I'll tell you, the greatest resistance to change comes from our habits. So when you try to change now, you will fail. Don't give up. अभी आप बदलने लगोगे ना, फिर भी चप्पल ऐसे ही डालोगे, याद कर लेना नहीं डालना है ऐसा। फिर 4 दिन बाद फिर ऐसे हो जाएगा, याद कर लेना नहीं डालना है ऐसा। आदतें से मजबूर है हम लोग, बदलना चाहते हैं लेकिन फिर वही आ जाते हैं। सुनते हैं पढ़ाई करना है, पेप टॉक से एड्रेनलिन चढ़ जाता है, शुरू करते हैं, फिर वही आ जाते हैं। वी विल कीप फेलिंग। डोंट गिव अप। देयर वाज अ मैन इन ब्रिटेन. He was studying at the Harrow School. Practically most prime ministers of England came from there. He had difficulty speaking English. British boy. Difficulty understanding English grammar. Pronounce नहीं कर पाता था. Never gave up. He was called to speak at Oxford University, where all those guys who were doing majors in the English language were sitting. इसको तो English में ही difficulty था बचपन में. This man walked into the auditorium. Everyone stood up and started applauding seeing this guy. He came up to the podium, waited for the applause to die down, and then spoke 3 words. And repeated those 3 words 3 times. That was his speech. Picked up his cane, walked out of the auditorium, and the audience was applauding 100 times louder. This man was the former Prime Minister of England, Sir Winston Churchill. And Winston Churchill, you want to hear what his speech was? 3 words, repeated 3 times. Never give up. A second time he rumbled into the PA system. Never give up. And a third time again he rumbled. Never give up. And he had never given up despite all of his challenges, and therefore he had gone to where he was. Habits will drag you down. Remember one mantra. Never give up. Yes, small things make a big difference, but the habits will not allow you to do those small things right. Don't give up. There was a guy who broke his jaw 1000 times. 1000 बार उसका जबड़ा टूटा. The dentists have suggested to me that they want to do a jaw operation on me. I have a problem with my pain in my temples. They want to pull out my entire jaw. सोच सकते हैं, पूरा मेरा लोअर जबड़ा उखाड़ेंगे ऐसा और फिर फिट करेंगे ठीक से अलाइनमेंट के लिए. कैन यू इमेजिन दैट सर्जरी? अगर ठीक से अलाइन नहीं हुआ तो मेरा पूरा एस्क्यू हो जाएगा. कैन यू इमेजिन? दिस गाय ब्रोक हिज जॉ 1000 times and wanted to be a Hollywood star. They rejected him hundreds of times. He never gave up. This is the popular Sylvester Stallone. Never gave up, you know. And then there was a guy, another guy, who was so tall, he wanted to be a Bollywood actor. And all directors were telling him, "Te makdi ka jal saaf kar apni height se." Hundreds of times rejected. I don't think I need to even tell you who this man was. The Big B, you know. Hundreds of times. A guy who had a Russian accent and couldn't speak well, wanted to be in Hollywood, rejected hundreds of times. Skinny fellow, went on to become the popular Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know. A guy who was a bus conductor in Bangalore, who didn't know how to speak, who didn't know any dialogue. He only knew how to defy the laws of gravity, you know. He went on to become the popular, highest paid Bollywood star, you know, Rajinikanth. You can imagine, when Rajinikanth starts a college, his college is called Rajinikanth's College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Medicine for Engineering. When Rajinikanth used to study, you know, when different people study, when Shakespeare used to study under a street light, Galileo used to study under a candle light, Newton used to study under, you know, a small bulb light. But our Sir Rajinikanth used to study under the light of the agarbatti which his mother would offer in the evening to the deity. Agarbatti ke choti light ke niche. No matter how much we joke, this man is a great man. Great achiever. His Kabali, God, last year should have been at Sion to see the kind of stir it created. Japan mein sare Japani log dekhte hain. Most popular in Japan with subtitles. Sir Rajinikanth. There was a guy who had epileptic seizures. Fit aata tha usko. Convulsions. 5 to 8 times a day. He realized his seizures were because of lack of focus. He realized, if I have to remain focused, if I am focused, then I don't get the seizures. And how do I remain focused? I have to start trying a brand new sport. This guy, he got into cricket. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the popular South African cricket player, Jonty Rhodes. You know, Jonty Rhodes never gave up. There's a lady, you know, a lady who in 1999 got spinal cancer. Her husband was fighting the Kargil war. They did 3 surgeries in her spine or spine pe 183 stitches in her back. And during the surgery, she became paralyzed from her waist down, paraplegic. She decided, मैं बैठ नहीं सकती. She started trying swimming, javelin throwing, shot put, driving as a paraplegic. When you're paralyzed waist below, she won 53 national gold medals and 13 international medals in these sports. She got the 2012 Arjun Award from the hands of our President, Pranab Mukherjee. She also won a medal in the Rio Olympics. Ladies and gentlemen, Deepa Malik, how can we give up? किसी का पैर टूटा है यहाँ? किसी के स्पाइन में 183 स्टिचेस है? किसी को स्पाइनल कैंसर हुआ है? क्या आप लोग गिव अप करते हैं? यहां देखिए ये लोग, how many times they decided to change and they were just being pulled down. Greatness doesn't mean you don't fail. Greatness means despite failure you never give up. That is greatness, you know. And there is one gentleman, a sannyasi from Vrindavan near Delhi. His guru told him, start a worldwide spiritual revolution by educating the people in spirituality. He didn't even have $1, less than 40 rupees in his hands. And he took a journey on his cargo ship called Jaladuta. On board the ship, he got 2 massive heart attacks. He could have easily turned back. He didn't turn back. I am always inspired by Swamiji Srila Prabhupada, who started ISKCON, where I joined and gave my life. एक चीज बताऊं आपको, 2 शब्द है, एक इंग्लिश में, और एक हिंदी में. इंग्लिश में सफर और हिंदी में भी सफर. इंग्लिश का सफर, डू यू वांट टू सफर और यू वांट टू मेक योर फेलियर्स अ सफर, अ जर्नी, इज योर चॉइस. सफर करना चाहते हो या अपने जीवन को एक सफर बनाना चाहते हो, you have to decide. And therefore I say, when you never give up, you go up. My second mantra. Yes, those small things will make a difference, but those small things will only make a difference when you never give up. And it won't change in a day. ऐसा नहीं कि कल बदल जाओगे. Your habits will drag you down. Don't give up. Keep going. And my last but not the least mantra. Are you all with me? And I have another 5-8 minutes, 10 minutes. We will conclude with this last mantra for today and stop here at how we can start living a great life. Oh, you know, people drive such fancy cars. ऐसा fancy car चलाते ना लोग. आप लोगों में से कितने लोगों ने दीवार पिक्चर देखा है? दीवार. दीवार में ना अमिताभ बच्चन और शशि कपूर का एक डायलॉग है, जो अमिताभ बच्चन शशि कपूर को बोलता है, मेरे पास बंगला है, मेरे पास गाड़ी है, मेरे पास पैसा है, मेरे पास नौकर है, मेरे पास चाकर है, तेरे पास क्या है? क्या बात है, वाह वाह वाह, आधा बरस है. क्या बात है. अभी 2017 में डायलॉग बदल गया. बॉम्बे में है ऋषि अमिताभ और शशि कपूर. अमिताभ बोलता है, मेरे पास मर्सिडीज है, मेरे पास लैम्बोर्गिनी है, मेरे पास BMW है, मेरे पास ऑडी है, मेरे पास जैगुआर है, तेरे पास क्या है? शशि कपूर बोला, मेरे पास पार्किंग स्पेस है, क्योंकि बंबई में पार्किंग स्पेस मिलना इतना मुश्किल है कि वो एक शिवजी का, महादेव का भक्त गया मंदिर में पूजा करने और शिवजी प्रकट हुए बेचारे के सामने. बोले, क्या चाहिए वत्स, बोल. तो बोला, महादेव, मैं जिस कॉलोनी में रहता हूं ना, एक ही गाड़ी का पार्किंग है मेरे पास और 3 पार्किंग दिला दो. तो महादेव बोले, तू पगला क्या मांगता है? मेरा नंदी भी बाहर पार्क किया है मैंने. नंदी को भी हमारे अंदर मंदिर के एंट्रेंस नहीं हो, नंदी भी प्रांगण में पार्किंग किया मेरा व्हीकल. तू क्या मेरे को बोल रहा है? पार्किंग गॉड इन दिस कंट्री. व्हाई एम आई सेइंग दिस? देयर आर 4 wheels of a car. First is your personal life, your hobbies, your likes, your life. Second is your family life. Some of you are married, for you, your spouse, your children. Some of you are still students, your parents, your siblings. The third is your professional life, which is when eventually you will start working. And for some of you as students, your academic life at the moment. And fourth is your social life, which is all of your friends, etc. एक भी टायर में पंक्चर होता है ना, गाड़ी ठीक से आगे नहीं बढ़ता. गाड़ी को ठीक से आगे चलाना है तो चारों पहियों में बैलेंस होना चाहिए. अपने आप पर भी ध्यान देना चाहिए, परिवार पर भी ध्यान देना चाहिए, अपने काम और पढ़ाई पर भी ध्यान देना चाहिए, और साथ ही साथ अपने सोशल लाइफ पर भी ध्यान देना चाहिए. When life is in balance, then the car moves smoothly ahead. And then the fifth, the steering wheel of the car, is our spiritual life, which helps us cope with all the challenges that come in our lives. I want to conclude with this one little thing. How many of you have problems in life? All of us. How many of you have personal problems? You're depressed, lonely, misunderstood. Okay, thank you. How many of you have family problems? Problems in your family. How many of you feel you have some financial crisis? Financial issues are there to bother you in your house. There is so much going on. How many of you have failed in exam? कैसे सब लोग अभी सब लोग हाथ उठा रहे हैं ऐसा देख के. एक पप्पा ना, एक डैडी अपने लड़के को बोल रहे, कॉलेज का लड़का फेल हो गया. बोले, देख देख देख, तेरे क्लास में वो लूसी पढ़ती है ना, वो फर्स्ट आई और लुक्खा देख देख, वो लूसी फर्स्ट आई और लुक्खा तू फेल हो गया. फेल कैसे हो गया? बोला, देख देख के ही फेल हो गया उसको. लूसी को देख देख के ही फेल हुआ. I'll tell you something. To be very honest, not all problems have a solution. Sometimes a family member is struggling with a disease which you can do nothing about. Not all problems have a solution. Therefore, my last mantra is this. In the name of earning money, in the name of becoming great and big, don't neglect your support systems. Spirituality is your support system. Your family is your support system. Your friends are your support system. And there's 3 kinds of support. 3 प्रकार का support होता है. First is called emotional support. Emotional support मतलब वो problem को solution नहीं देने वाला है वो. बस मैं तेरे साथ हूँ. कितने लोगों को लगता है कि अपने पास ऐसा एक तो कोई होना चाहिए जो साथ में है यार, अपने समझ सकता है अपने को. उसके पास solution नहीं, वो भी मेरे जैसा ही है. लेकिन क्योंकि मेरे जैसा है इसलिए समझ सकता है और मेरे साथ है. You know, because you can't solve all problems. I'm an engineer. Engineers have solutions for problems that don't exist. One engineering student used to sleep in a mosquito net. मच्छरदानी में सोता था वो. गद्दा मालूम है, हॉस्टल में रहते बच्चे, वो कितने मच्छर रहते हैं गद्दे के अंदर, वो ऐसा घुसाते हैं मच्छरदानी मालूम है, ऐसा अंदर अंदर नीचे, तो मच्छर अंदर नहीं आना चाहिए करके. तो एक सवेरे वो पूरा घुसा के मच्छरदानी सो गया. सवेरे उठा तो भाई काटा है मच्छर किधर से. तो उठा तो देखा इतना मच्छर काटा है. मच्छर आया किधर से, मैं तो घुसाया था पूरा मच्छरदानी अंदर. फिर देखा वो मच्छरदानी में एक होल है, उसके अंदर से घुस के आया मच्छर. अभी ये इंजीनियर है, इसको तो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करना ही है, कैसे ना कैसे तो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करना ही है. कैसे करेगा प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व, अभी कैसे करेगा यार. अभी मैं तो, मेरे पास सुई नहीं, धागा नहीं, मेरे को सिलना आता नहीं, कैसे सॉल्व करूंगा. तो उसने वो होल के बगल में दूसरा होल बनाया बड़ा, और ये होल से दूसरे होल में एक पाइप डाल दिया. तो मच्छर इधर से आएगा, पाइप में घुस के दूसरे होल से बाहर निकल जाएगा. ये इंजीनियरिंग का दिमाग होता है. इंजीनियर ऐसा दिमाग लड़ा के वो लोग सोल्यूशन निकालते हैं प्रॉब्लम का. काश सारे प्रॉब्लम का सोल्यूशन इतना सिंपल होता नहीं. Someone told me if anyone has problem in their life na, they have to only put the picture of their spouse, husband or wife, on the mobile phone. बस वो देख, भगवान का नहीं रखने का. मोबाइल फोन पे भगवान का फोटो रखने का नहीं, अपने पति या पत्नी का रखने का. जब भी प्रॉब्लम आएगा देख लेने का, बोलने का इसको हैंडल कर लेगा तो कुछ भी हैंडल कर सकता है लाइफ में. मैं I'll tell you, it's not that we have solutions to all problems. Therefore I say, don't look for someone who will solve all your problems. Look for someone who won't let you face them alone. You don't have solutions for all problems. बस ऐसे व्यक्ति को ढूंढो जो आपको अकेले गुजरने नहीं दे उसमें. You need support to become great. Emotional support. The next one I say is functional support. Emotional support is मैं तेरे साथ हूँ, solution नहीं हूँ उसके पास. Functional support is people who are actually there to help you solve as much as you can. ऐसे भी लोग चाहिए होते हैं हमको जो अपने को मदद करे. Emotional support, functional support, and the last one which I always say is directional support. There is emotional support, functional support, and directional support. You know what directional support is? Directional support मतलब मेरे जिंदगी की दिशा कहाँ जा रही है. आप अगर अपने जीवन की दशा को बदलने चाहते हैं ना, पहले जीवन की दिशा को बदलिए. अगर दिशा नहीं बदलोगे तो दशा नहीं बदलेगी. और इसीलिए जीवन में दिशा चाहिए, मार्गदर्शक चाहिए, कोई गुरु चाहिए, कोई काउंसलर चाहिए, कोई गाइड चाहिए जो हमारे कंफ्यूजन को मिटा के हमारे जीवन को एक दिशा दे पाए. ऐसा सपोर्ट होता है ना देवी और सज्जनों, तब महानता इतनी करीब आ जाती है. अकेले कब तक लड़ोगे, अकेले कब तक झगड़ोगे, अकेले कब तक झुलसोगे, unless you have guidance and support. Only those who have had good mentors and guides. Arjun had Krishna on the battlefield. He won. He was victorious. You will definitely win the game of life if you have that support. Therefore, my 3 mantras for this morning are these. Firstly, not the mantra even. Firstly, between B and D is a say. Learn to choose. And what choice will you make? These 3 choices. Number 1, you will start paying attention to the smallest things in your life, because small things make a big difference. They give you an attitude. It's not the color of the balloon that takes it up, it's what's inside that takes it up. महान कैसे बनोगे? बाहर से कुछ करके महान नहीं बनोगे, अंदर से आपकी एटीट्यूड सही रहेगी ना, तब महान जीवन जियोगे. Secondly, when you decide to change and pay attention to the small things, your habits will pull you down. You will pick it up and throw it in. जैसे कर रहे हो वैसे ही होगा. जब वो लिखने जाओगे वैसे ही मुर्गी का हैंडराइटिंग से लिखोगे. You will do the same damn thing again. If you decide to change, the second sutra, never give up. Because when you never give up, then you go up. छोड़ो मत, लगे रहो, लगन से करते रहो. 20 बार फेल हो गए ना, फिर भी लगे रहो. ऐसा व्यक्ति महान बनता है. And last but not the least, when you do go through those failures, you need support. Emotional support, just for people to be with you. Functional support, to help you solve the issue as much as possible. And directional support, ताकि दिशा बदले, और दिशा बदलने से बदलेगी दशा. And here are my 3 mantras for a great life, living a great life. I can see a Hanuman in every single one here. Look for that Jambuan, जो आप में विश्वास करे और कहे हनुमान तुम ये समंदर लांग के अवश्य जा सकते हो. ऐसा जामवान मिल गया ना, इस सारा देश हनुमानों से भरा हुआ है. बड़े बड़े चुनौतियों को पार करके सीता को ढूंढ निकालेंगे हम. यश अपना अवश्य होगा. Once again, I would like to thank you all very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
I think I am at a loss of words to say something after hearing this kind of a talk. I'm totally at a loss of words. I thank you, sir. Thank you, Swamiji, for coming and enlightening us and giving some direction to the students. And I'm sure when each of us goes back, we will introspect, and I'm sure something we will implement and practice. And by the time Swamiji comes back next year, we will all be changed people, changed students, changed children. And most of us will be having some direction and make our lives successful, not in the way we have thought what success is, but in the way Swamiji has told us about success. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing Swamiji again in the future. And really we are grateful to you, and I'm very happy that I could also attend this lecture, because it was scheduled some time earlier, and I was very happy that I'll be able to attend it. But today I'm leaving for Delhi at around 11 o'clock, but somehow I was so fortunate that this lecture was arranged in the morning and I could attend. It's my luck and it's my great fortune to be here to be able to have actually listened to such a great man. Thank you very much. And I also congratulate the organizers, especially our principal, Dr. Davolkar, who has really been taking so much initiative to have these value-added classes, value-added lectures, and I'm sure we are all better off with these kind of activities in the college, and I wish you all the best.
Will you please rise for the national anthem?
Where do you live in Bombay?
I stay very close by.
Of all success, the fuel for every comeback. You may lose your job, your income, even your reputation, but if you still hold your faith, you haven't lost anything that can't be rebuilt stronger. Adversity is not a wall, it's a mirror. It shows you who you really are. Comfort rarely creates clarity. It's when you're down, when you're pressed against the edge of survival, that your mind sharpens, your vision clears, and your resolve strengthens. Every setback carries within it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity, but only for those who are willing to look, to adapt, and to fight forward. The illusion of security often masks the erosion of potential. When the paycheck stops, most people panic, but the leaders, the creators, the warriors, they lean in. They see adversity as life's greatest teacher. It strips away excuses, distractions, and illusions, and it demands growth. It demands decision, and it offers a reward no paycheck ever can power from within. You cannot discover your true strength until it is tested. You cannot find your purpose until you've been shaken. Adversity forces you to choose. Will you shrink or will you stretch? Will you surrender to fear or will you rise with faith? This is where champions are forged, not when things go right, but when everything goes wrong and they still refuse to give in. To give up the safety net is to trust yourself at a level most never will. It's to say, I will bet on me, not because it's easy, but because the alternative is a slow death of potential. Every loss is an invitation to step into your real power, to create without permission, to build from nothing with nothing but belief as your foundation. Adversity separates those who want success from those who are committed to it. It doesn't reward the weak-hearted. It strengthens the committed. When the world tests you, it is not cruelty, it's confirmation. Confirmation that something inside you is ready to rise. Because when faith becomes your foundation, no loss can defeat you, and no storm can break you. The world has changed, but most people are still playing by the rules written for a different time. They cling to advice passed down like gospel: save money, get a stable job, stay out of debt. But what once led to security now leads to stagnation. Inflation eats savings, technology replaces jobs, and those unwilling to evolve are left behind, frustrated by a game they no longer understand. Wealth is not built on tradition, it's built on transformation. The ability to think independently, to question inherited beliefs, to adapt and apply new knowledge, that's the new currency of success. You cannot thrive in the future by clinging to the past. If the world moves forward and you stand still, you're not playing it safe. You're falling behind. Old models of thinking no longer serve those who seek abundance. Saving for decades in a depreciating currency while the cost of living skyrockets is not wisdom. It's surrender. You need more than general knowledge. You need specialized, evolving knowledge. The kind that positions you ahead of trends, not behind them. The kind that creates wealth in any economy. Every belief you hold either fuels your rise or feeds your decline. You must examine the thoughts you inherited and ask, are these helping me build wealth, or are they keeping me small? Many are loyal to limitations they never chose, ideas that no longer apply to the world as it is. True freedom begins the moment you question them and choose your own path. The mind is your most powerful asset, or your greatest liability. If it's filled with expired advice, you'll keep creating expired results. You'll save money while it loses value. You'll chase jobs while automation rises. You'll fear debt while the wealthy use it to multiply their fortunes. To prosper, you must think like a creator, not a consumer. New outcomes require new inputs. You don't plant seeds from last season and expect a new harvest. You must plant new beliefs, nurture new knowledge, and grow into the person required by today's opportunities. The future belongs to those who learn faster, adapt quicker, and act bolder than yesterday's thinkers ever could. The truth is simple. The rules of money have changed, and they will continue to change. But only a few will change with them. Most will cling to comfort, to certainty, to the obsolete, and with it they will inherit obsolete results. But those who choose to upgrade their thinking will find the doors to wealth still wide open. They will not just survive the shift, they will lead it. Most people fear debt because they've been trained to see it as a burden. They've been conditioned to believe that owing money is a sign of failure, not realizing that in the hands of the informed, debt becomes a powerful instrument of wealth creation. It's not debt itself that traps people, it's ignorance of how to use it wisely that does. The mind that fears debt will always retreat from opportunity. Wealthy individuals don't run from debt, they master it. They use borrowed money not to survive but to scale. They acquire assets that generate income, multiplying their returns far beyond what saving alone could ever achieve. Debt becomes a tool to accelerate growth, a lever to move mountains that cash alone could never budge. Debt, when used with precision and intelligence, is a force multiplier. It allows you to control large assets with a fraction of the cost. The key lies in using it to buy things that put money in your pocket, not take it out. This is the kind of specialized knowledge that separates the builders of empires from the builders of budgets. Fear of debt is often a symptom of deeper fear, fear of responsibility, of risk, of stepping into the unknown, but greatness demands risk. Hill taught that faith and fear cannot exist in the same mind. To rise, you must lean into faith, guided by education, vision, and courage. Debt is not your enemy, it is your test. The tax code itself was not written to punish. It was written to incentivize. The wealthy understand this. They don't fight taxes, they work within the laws to reduce them legally. They earn like owners, not employees, and structure their income through businesses and investments. The rules were never hidden. They were just ignored by those too busy chasing comfort. If your mindset is shaped by fear, every opportunity will look like a threat. But if it is shaped by wisdom, every challenge becomes a chance to build. The masses avoid debt to stay safe. The wealthy embrace it to grow strong. One path leads to stagnation, the other to expansion. The choice is always in the mind first. Learning to use debt responsibly is not just a financial skill, it's a mindset shift. It's the realization that you are no longer a pawn in the system, but a player in the game. Once you learn the rules of wealth, you're no longer afraid of the tools. You wield them, and when that happens, the limits fall away. Before you can master the world outside, you must first master the world within. The economy that truly shapes your destiny is not the one reported on the news. It's the one that lives inside your thoughts, your beliefs, your discipline. Wealth is not born from markets or policies, but from the clarity of your purpose and the power of your decisions. Your inner world is your command center. When chaos swirls outside, the mind anchored in purpose remains unshaken. While others panic and retreat, those who have trained their internal economy press forward with courage and focus. The storms of life do not break them, they sharpen them. Most people react to life, they adjust their ambition to match their circumstances. But those with a defined purpose, a clear vision of where they're going, bend circumstances to fit their mission. They do not drift with the tides. They sail with intention, guided by an inner compass that never wavers. The inner economy is built through habits of thought, through repetition, belief, and discipline. You must speak success to yourself before the world ever echoes it back. If you allow fear, doubt, or scarcity to dominate your mind, no opportunity will ever be enough. Control begins with your self-talk. Definiteness of purpose is more than just a goal, it's a way of life. It means that no matter what the world throws at you, you already know where you're going, you've made the decision. You've burned the ships, there is no going back. Every setback becomes a setup, every delay a redirection. Too many are focused on the headlines, the economy, the opinions of others, but real power begins when you shift your gaze inward. When you learn to trust your vision more than the noise, that is the birthplace of all lasting wealth, the inner decision to rise, to win, to lead. You can't control inflation, interest rates, or global markets. But you can control how you think. You can choose discipline over distraction, belief over fear, persistence over comfort. That is the ultimate economy, the one that determines how you respond, how you grow, and how high you rise. Every mistake you've made holds a lesson crafted specifically for your next breakthrough. The world teaches us to fear failure, to avoid embarrassment, to stay in our comfort zones. But those who rise, those who lead, are the ones who lean into their errors and mine them for wisdom. The mistake isn't the problem, your reaction to it is. You were never meant to be perfect, you were meant to evolve. Growth demands movement, and movement includes missteps. If you're not making mistakes, you're not stretching far enough. Each misstep is proof that you're alive, you're in motion, and you are on the journey toward mastery. The pain of a mistake is temporary, but the lessons last forever. When you fail and choose to reflect instead of retreat, you activate one of the most powerful forces available to any human being, growth through awareness. You begin to build a mind that doesn't break under pressure, but becomes sharper through it. Fear of mistakes is the silent killer of ambition. It paralyzes progress and breeds doubt. But when you reframe failure as feedback, you reclaim your power. You shift from being a victim of circumstances to being the architect of your own evolution. Mistakes become your mentors. No one who ever achieved greatness did so without stumbling. The difference is they didn't stop. They didn't let shame or fear write their story. They turned their lowest moments into leverage. The setback became the setup. The fall became the foundation for something greater. Persistence is the bridge between mistake and mastery. Each time you get back up, you prove to yourself and to the world that you cannot be defeated. That no matter how many times life knocks you down, you will rise stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. Success isn't about getting everything right the first time. It's about staying in the game. It's about knowing that every error holds the seed of your next advancement. You don't fail when you fall. You fail when you stop learning. Keep going, keep growing. Let every mistake refine your mission. Being busy is not the same as being bold. Many call themselves entrepreneurs, but in truth, they've only changed their boss from someone else to themselves. They still trade hours for dollars, still chase security in disguise. True entrepreneurship is not about owning a job, it's about building a vision that outlives you. The real entrepreneur sees beyond the next invoice, beyond the next client. They think in decades, not days. They don't just ask, what can I earn this month? They ask, what legacy am I building? That mindset, the fusion of faith and foresight, is what separates the few who lead from the many who follow. Vision is the foundation of enterprise. Without it, you're reacting, not creating. You're surviving, not thriving. True entrepreneurs are driven by a burning desire to solve problems at scale, to impact lives, to create value so great that the world cannot ignore them. That is the Fire Hill spoke of the definiteness of purpose. Strategy without personal growth is a dead engine. The outer results will never outpace the inner development. You cannot build an empire with a limited mind. The true entrepreneur is a constant student, always sharpening the blade of thought, always pushing their limits to grow into the next version of themselves. Desire alone is not enough. You must have faith so strong that it overrides fear. Every business will face storms. Most self-employed individuals fold when things get hard, but the entrepreneur with true vision stands tall because their roots run deep. They trust in what they're building long before the world sees it. It's easy to call yourself a business owner. It's harder to build systems, scale ideas, and lead others with integrity. Most stay small because their mindset is small. They settle for what's comfortable instead of chasing what's possible. They avoid risk, and in doing so, they avoid greatness. Being an entrepreneur is not a title, it's a transformation. It demands clarity, courage, and character. You must outgrow your past self daily. You must take responsibility for every result in your life. Because at the end of the day, the market doesn't care about your hustle, it rewards your value. Within every human being lies a silent conversation, a debate between scarcity and abundance, between fear and faith. Some voices echo the doubts of poverty, whispering limitations and clinging to security. Others cry out with the ambition of wealth, urging action, vision, and belief. It is not your birth, background, or circumstance that determines your future. It is the voice you choose to obey. Riches are not earned first in dollars, but in thoughts. Change your thoughts and you change your life. The world will tell you to be reasonable, to play it safe, to accept a small life, but there is nothing reasonable about greatness. The rich thinker does not wait for permission, they give it to themselves. The poor thinker says, I can't afford it. The rich thinker asks, how can I create it? That subtle difference in mindset shapes destinies. It is not talent that separates the wealthy from the broke. It is thought, discipline, focus, and belief. Poverty is not the absence of money, it is the absence of vision. It is the acceptance of defeat before the game begins. When you feed the thoughts of lack, they multiply. When you dwell in fear, you attract more fear. But when you decide deliberately and powerfully to focus on prosperity, on opportunity, on growth, you awaken forces within you that were waiting to be called into action. Every fortune began as an idea. Every empire was first imagined. Before there was gold, there was the belief in gold, and yet people wait. They wait for conditions to be perfect, for the economy to improve, for luck to strike. But those who create wealth understand, conditions bend to the will of a determined mind. If you master your inner world, the outer world must obey. You cannot think like the masses and expect uncommon results. The middle class mindset craves comfort, seeks routine, fears risk, but wealth is not found in comfort zone. It lives in decision, in courage, in the unknown. The poor mind clings to the known. The rich mind builds what it cannot yet see. One lives in reaction, the other in creation. Every day is a choice to stay asleep or to wake up to your potential. A choice to be a victim of circumstance or the master of it. No one is born with a rich mind. It is forged through repetition, through clarity of purpose, through feeding your spirit with faith and your mind with unstoppable ideas. The truth is simple. Your wallet reflects your thinking. If you believe in limits, you will live within them. If you believe in expansion, in abundance, in your own power to create, nothing can hold you. Thought is the origin of all wealth. Align your mind with prosperity, and the world cannot help but follow. A paycheck is one of the most seductive traps ever created. It gives the illusion of safety, while quietly robbing you of your dreams. It soothes your fears just enough to keep you from ever challenging them. The moment you grow comfortable relying on a steady income, you hand over your power. You stop creating and start conforming. What once was meant to be a stepping stone becomes a lifelong cage. The habit of dependency is deadly to greatness. True freedom comes when you decide that your future will not be dictated by someone else's schedule, budget, or opinion. You were not born to trade your time for money. You were born to use your mind to create value. Those who chase freedom understand this. Real wealth is not earned by the hour. It is commanded by vision. A paycheck rewards you just enough to keep you returning, but never enough to set you free. It tames your hunger, dulls your ambition, and places a ceiling above your head. Great achievers know that temporary discomfort is the price of lasting independence. They choose the uncertain path, not because it is easy, but because it is the only path where real power is found. When you trade your dreams for a direct deposit, you are selling your future for comfort. And comfort is the enemy of growth. To rise, you must detach your identity from the paycheck. It is not who you are. It is not what you're worth. It is merely a tool, and if misused, it becomes a leash. The question is simple. Do you control money, or does money control you? Those who build empires did not wait to be paid. They learned to create. They invested in themselves. They endured the pain of uncertainty until their vision became reality. They refused to be defined by what someone else decided they were worth. Instead, they declared their own value and backed it with relentless action. If you fear losing a paycheck, you've already lost your power. What you fear controls you, but when you decide that no paycheck will ever be your lifeline again, you become dangerous, you become free. That is when your creativity awakens, your problem solving sharpens, and your courage deepens. That is when you stop waiting and start leading. Drifting is the silent killer of potential. It begins with small compromises and ends with a life